Discovered how I transformed my life after my children chose a party over my heart. Incredible. John sat alone at the kitchen table, dawn's pale light creeping in through the window, casting a glow on the familiar mess of schoolbooks and half-eaten cereal bowls. He gripped the freshly signed promotion letter in his hands, a tangible testament to years of sweat at the local auto garage. Yet as pride swelled in his chest, it felt like a weight dragging him down. His two teenage children, Maddie and Tyler, were away, lost in the grips of teenage dreams, swinging on the pendulum of social acceptance. His heart ached with hollow anticipation. Today was supposed to be different. Today was supposed to be a celebration. As the hours passed, giggles and music floated in from the streets, each sound piercing John's heart like daggers. He cooked their favorite dinner: grilled chicken, mashed potatoes, and green beans, but it sat untouched, cold and cruel on the table. Family dinners had once been their laughter-filled haven, but now it felt more like a memory, fading further into the background with each passing moment. When the door swung open, John's heart raced, expecting his kids to run in, eyes gleaming with excitement. Instead, they sauntered in, faces painted with nonchalant indifference, fresh from a party that glittered brighter than his love. "Dad, we're going out again," Maddie shrugged, her phone lighting up like a beacon calling her back to the party that pulled them away. Staring at the night that was supposed to be his, John felt his world tremor. The kids were choosing parties over family, and it hurt a piercing pain that snaked through his chest. He clasped the promotion letter, the words "you've earned it now" mocking him, a reminder of everything he strived for, crumbling like vintage photographs. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Isolated, John sought solace at a local support group for fathers, where tales of shattered dreams floated in the air like ghostly echoes. Other men shared their struggles, loneliness, disappointment, the ache of love unreturned. It was in this room that John found camaraderie, a safety net of shared burdens. Each story became a block in the mosaic of his understanding. With renewed determination, John began to explore his feelings, battling that gnawing conflict: did he still hold on to his love for his children, or would anger consume him? He contemplated how easy it was for the bonds of love to fray under the surface of disregard. The moment lingered as he took a deep breath, readying himself for what felt like a leap into a dark, uncertain abyss. They had to talk. The air was thick with unspoken words when they finally sat down together, three hearts tangled in confusion. His voice trembled as he opened up about his feelings, the hurt of being left behind, the longing for their past connection. Just as emotion thickened the air, the doorbell rang. A cacophony of laughter flooded in. Maddie's friends arrived, and suddenly, it all felt precarious, as if the moment they needed the most was slipping right through his fingers. Would they ever find their way back to each other amidst this chaos of changing priorities? John sat in the living room, the glow of the streetlights filtering through the window, casting long shadows across the floor. His heart sank as laughter filled the house, courtesy of Maddie's friends. The moment he had built up to, the talk that would bridge the gap between them, seemed to evaporate in the giggles and chatter of teenagers more interested in social moments than their own family. "Hey, can we talk?" he called out, trying to rise above the din. His voice cracked, carrying a weight he'd never intended to express. Maddie peered over her shoulder, her friends momentarily quieting. "Not now, Dad. We're just getting started." Her indifference pierced him more than any harsh words could. Tyler, however, lingered by the doorway, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. He seemed caught between two worlds, the youthful freedom beckoning from the party and the responsibility tugging at his heart. "Tyler, please," John pleaded, gesturing for him to join him. For a moment, Tyler hesitated, glancing back toward his sister and her friends. After what felt like an eternity, he stepped into the room, his body language screaming discomfort. "I'm busy, Dad. Can it wait?" Tyler's tone was muted, but the weight behind it was palpable. "No, It can't, John replied, surprising himself with the firmness in his voice. He had always been the soft one, the dad who let things slide. But today, his heart ached too much for that. I need you both to understand how I feel. It's important. As he spoke, the laughter outside faded into a murmur, and the room fell silent. They looked at him, eyes wide, unsure of where this would lead. John took a breath, his heart pounding against his chest as he tried to articulate the turmoil inside. I feel like I'm losing you, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. You're both growing up so fast, and I'm scared you'll forget about us, the little moments we used to share when life was simple. Tyler shifted uncomfortably, glancing back towards the noise outside, but Maddie stayed put, her interest peaking despite herself. Dad, you don't get it. We're just living our lives, Maddie replied, frustration lacing her words. It's not like we don't care about you. John swallowed hard, the lump in his throat growing heavier. But it feels like you care more about parties and friends than the family we used to be. I just want to know where I fit into your lives. In that moment, something shifted. Maddie exchanged a look with Tyler, and John felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they could still bridge that gap before it widened too much. I didn't realize you felt that way, Tyler finally said, his voice low. We're just trying to figure it out, Dad. You always said I should be independent, right? I did, John admitted, his heart full of mixed emotions. But independence doesn't mean shutting me out. Maddie frowned, deep in thought. Can we make a deal? We try to connect more, and if you want to talk, just say so. But we also need to be ourselves. Something deep inside John softened at her words. I'm willing to do that if you let me in, too. The tenuous truce hung in the air, but before anyone could respond, a loud crash erupted outside, drawing their attention. They rushed to the window just in time to see one of Maddie's friends tumble to the ground, laughter turning to concern. Ugh, can't believe this. Maddie exclaimed, sprinting outside before John could stop her. He watched her go, feeling both pride and fear. Here was the moment he could lose them again. But he also knew this was part of being a father. As Tyler hesitated, torn between following his sister and staying back, John placed a hand on his shoulder. Let us give them a moment, buddy, he said, the words flowing naturally. Just you and me, for a bit. They stood together, gazing out into the chaos, and John silently hoped that this was the first step towards healing. But where would it lead? Would they really allow each other back in? The unknown lingered like a shadow, and John couldn't shake the ominous feeling that the true test of their connection was yet to come. What would they discover about each other in the storm of adolescence? The yearning to find out clenched at his heart as he stared into the night. Tyler shifted nervously, biting his lip as he stood beside John, watching the chaos unfold outside. Laughter echoed in the night, a stark contrast to the heavy silence hanging between him and his father. Do you think she's okay? He finally asked, his voice barely more than a whisper. John turned to Tyler, his eyes reflecting the worry he felt for Maddie. She's tough. Just a little collision with the ground, I'm sure. But the worry lingered. Would she ever fully understand the depth of his concern? The warmth of reassuring an injured friend, of licking wounds together over the simplistic demands of life? The chaos outside gradually subsided as a few girls rushed to help Maddie. They were giggling again, and it sliced through John's heart. Each laugh felt like a reminder of a better time when the laughter was for him and not just her friends. Dad, can we go? Tyler's words broke the silence, his eyes pleading for a chance to join the party. Maddie needs us. John felt that familiar tug of frustration. He wanted to say no, to keep them close, to hold on to every fleeting moment. But he knew it was the nature of growing up. All right, let us give it a minute, he managed, trying to keep his tone even. As he watched the group from the window, Tyler stood next to him, a picture of conflicted emotions. Does it ever get easier? He asked quietly, almost to himself. John looked at him, surprised by his insight. What do you mean? You know I mean, life. Talking with you guys feels different now. I get that you want to be around, but it's like there's this gap. I want to be independent, but I don't want to hurt anyone. With every word, John felt the weight of understanding growing. Tyler wasn't just pulling away. He was grappling with the pressures of growing up and how to maintain connections with his family. Wasn't that what he had to navigate, too? Suddenly, John realized how vital this moment was to listen, to connect, to understand the discomfort instead of brushing it aside. It's okay to feel that way, son. I went through the same thing. It's hard to balance freedom and family. Tyler turned to him, surprise flickering in his eyes. You did? Absolutely. I didn't always manage it well either, John said. But if you ever need help figuring it out, I'm here for you. Tyler studied his dad, a glimmer of realization shining in his eyes. Thanks. That kinda helps. Just then, Maddie bounded back inside, her cheeks flushed from the cool air and laughter. You should have seen it. Elena totally wiped out. It was hilarious. Her buzz blended into the room, infectious and bright. John found himself smiling at her energy. She was still his little girl in so many ways. Are you okay? He asked, instinctively checking for signs of injury. She rolled her eyes, brushing off his concern. I'm fine, Dad. Not my first tumble. John couldn't help but chuckle, but the laughter felt bittersweet. Here was the balance they needed, where he could be protective but not overly so. Maddie surveyed their quiet camaraderie. What are you guys talking about? Tyler shrugged, shooting a look at John. Just life stuff. Maddie's brow furrowed slightly. You shouldn't be boring. Come on. We're dancing. Before he could object, she grabbed Tyler and dragged him toward the door. John felt a pang of loss, the brief moment connecting now slipping away with her exuberance. Hey! Wait! John called, wrestling with the urge to forbid them. Tyler turned, an amused smirk on his face. It's just dancing, Dad. With a resigned smile, he watched them go, feeling the contrast of joy and sadness in his chest. They weren't kids anymore. They were forging their paths, and though it hurt, he had to let go. Still, deep down, he wondered, would they be willing to let him in again? As the night wore on, he sensed shadows creeping back in the uncertainty of connection, the worry about being pushed further away. And in those shadows, he thought of the family dinners that came before, how everything changed with the blink of an eye. Would this moment build bridges or simply expand distances? He knew he had to find out, before silence took its place again. John stood alone in the dim light of the living room, the echoes of laughter and music drifting in through the open door. He leaned against the wall, a spectator to the life he had built. The twinkling lights strung around the room felt foreign, almost suffocating. Each beat of the music outside was a pulse that quickened his anxiety. He could hardly shake off the lingering tension in his chest. Would he ever truly understand his kids? He wanted to, he really did, but understanding felt like chasing shadows. At that moment, it dawned on him, perhaps the key to making sense of it all was not in the answers he sought, but in being present, truly listening. Taking a deep breath, he slowly made his way outside. The cool night air embraced him as he stepped into a scene filled with vibrant life, boys and girls swaying to the rhythm, Maddie and Tyler lost in their own worlds of laughter, energy illuminating their faces like bright stars against the dark sky. Hey, look who's here! Maddie shouted across the throng, her voice slicing through the melody. She flashed a radiant smile that reached all the way to John's heart, momentarily washing away his worries. Come on, Dad. Join us. She called, pulling him toward the group. For a fleeting moment, time seemed to bend, wrapping him in a blend of nostalgia and hope. He glanced at Tyler, who was smiling but slightly hesitant. It made John's heart swell and ache all at once. They were still his children, yet he felt like an intruder in their youth. Tyler caught his gaze and gave him a nod, as if granting permission to be part of this bustling world. With a smile, John dove into the chaotic whirl of bodies, moving awkwardly at first. The beats vibrated in his bones, and he could feel the infectious joy beginning to sink in. Laughter erupted around him as he attempted to dance, arms flailing, creating a spectacle that earned more mirth than rhythm. The kids cheered him on, encouraging his antics, and slowly he began to shed the weight of uncertainty. "See, Dad? You're not boring at all." Maddie yelled over the music, her laughter ringing pure and free, mingling with the night air. "I never said I was boring," John retorted playfully, feeling lighter with every sway of his body. The room, once a space filled with tension for him, felt vibrant now, like an embodiment of life itself. It was hard to believe that just moments ago, he had feared being forgotten. As the song faded into a slower tune, he caught Tyler's eye. The moment felt significant, charged with unspoken words. Yet there was comfort there too, a bond strengthened by laughter, a reminder that they were all figuring it out together, even if it felt messy sometimes. Suddenly, the music faltered, and a hush fell over the crowd. A few whispers spread as people glanced toward the sudden commotion at the edge of the party. John turned his head instinctively, the smile fading. "Maddie! Look!" Tyler shouted, pointing. A couple of older kids were arguing fiercely, their voices rising, eyes locked in confrontation. The festive atmosphere shifted, electric with tension. John felt the familiar tugging instinct to protect, to shield them from the harsh realities of adolescence. But in this moment, would he be a part of the solution or an obstacle? He glanced at Maddie and Tyler, who both stared at the scene unfolding. Would this escalate? What role should he play? Drawing in a deep breath, he glimpsed not just kids having fun but a tightening world that he needed to navigate with them. The stakes rose as he approached them. Should he intervene? Or wait and see how they would react? And in that split second, he realized, the true transformation in their relationship was not about clinging tightly, but knowing when to step back and when to step forward. The uncertainty loomed heavy, ready to challenge everything. How would he handle this? What would it mean for their connection? The answer danced just out of reach. John took a step closer, heart racing. The commotion at the edge of the party felt like a living thing, thrumming with energy. He could feel it in his bones, the tension, the uncertainty, the raw emotion bubbling just beneath the surface. The two older kids were standing toe to toe, fists clenched by their sides, faces flushed. It was like watching a storm gather. He paused, scanning the crowd. Kids were whispering, some filming with their phones, eyes wide with excitement and fear. Their amusement had shifted into something heavier, charged with a sense of impending conflict. "Maddie, stay back," John said quietly without taking his eyes off the scene. He felt a need to protect them, but part of him wondered if stepping in would make matters worse. Maddie's face tightened, a listener as well as a participant, grappling with the gravity of the moment. From his peripheral vision, Tyler stepped forward, brows furrowed, mouth set in determination. "I think we should just let them talk it out," he suggested, albeit shakily. John admired the courage in Tyler's decision, a sign of growth that swelled both his pride and anxiety. "Sometimes talking doesn't work," John countered softly, assessing the intensity of the two boys. He felt a knot forming in his throat, a parent's instinct to shield, but also a desire to let him find his own way. Just then, Maddie reached for John's arm. "Dad, maybe we should help. They look really mad." He turned to her, seeing the worry reflected in her eyes. It was one thing to witness the happenings as a distant spectator, but navigating them as a father was something else entirely. "It's okay to feel that way, Maddie. But we also have to let them breathe." Tyler moved beside her, both of them waiting for John's lead. In that very moment, he felt the weight of their expectations pressing down. What if he chose wrong? As the argument escalated, the older boys leaned into each other, words flying like arrows, fears hanging in the air, waiting to land somewhere deep. Something had to give. The crowd shifted restlessly, a thrumming heart of anxiety that resonated with John. Before he could reconsider, he stepped forward. "Hey! Everyone, hold up." His voice sliced through the tension, and for a moment, all eyes were on him. "Let us take a breath," he continued, forcing calmness into his shaking hands. This isn't how we handle things. The two boys paused, momentarily caught off guard. John saw hesitation flash across their faces, maybe even a hint of embarrassment in the spotlight. He took advantage of it. "Let us talk it out," he said, softer now, almost pleading. "You don't need to fight, not here, not now." The kids surrounding him exchanged glances, their interest piqued. John could feel his pulse racing as the weight of his responsibility pressed down. What would come of this? Slowly, one of the boys lowered his fists, letting out a shaky breath. The other followed suit, unsure but willing to listen. Relief flooded John, sparking with hope. "I don't know what's going on, but if we keep yelling, it's going to ruin the night for everyone," he said, his voice steadier now. Maddie and Tyler stayed close, watching intently. He was reaching out for something bigger than the moment. He was trying to teach them that communication was the key to any relationship, including this chaotic moment. He hoped they could see that. As the heated atmosphere began to settle, whispers of apologies flickered into the night air. So much more than just the argument had unfolded, and he should have realized it sooner. This was about connection, struggle, and understanding, yet even as the boys began to cool off, John couldn't shake the sense of something brewing beneath the surface. "Tyler," he said, glancing at his son, "you were right. We should let them sort this out." But as he turned back to the boys, he was met not with words but a look from them, a look that told him this was far from over. Just as he thought he understood the night, a new question formed like a dark cloud overhead. What lay ahead on this journey of fatherhood and growing pains? John felt the thrill of anticipation mingled with fear. The real challenge had just begun. John took a deep breath, feeling the energy of the gathering shift as the tension began to dissipate. His eyes flickered between the two older boys, who now seemed as unsure of their next move as he felt. He could sense the crowd's curiosity, the way everyone adjusted to what could be an unexpected resolution. "Are you guys okay?" he asked gently, his voice deeper now, yet laced with genuine concern. The boys exchanged glances before one of them, Sam, nodded slowly. "Yeah, I guess. Just didn't he like what he said?" John recognized the frustration bubbling beneath each word. "Words can really hurt sometimes," he said, remembering his own struggles from childhood, how easily misunderstandings could spiral. "But are we really gonna let this ruin our night?" A murmur of agreement floated through the crowd. John could see Maddie's eyes brightening slightly, the fear in her expression loosening as relief took its place. She had always been quick to feel the emotions of others, and he admired that about her. "Look, maybe we should just talk about what happened instead of letting it sit," Tyler chimed in, his voice steadier than before. The other boy, Jake, looked back at Tyler, clearly taken aback by his presence in the debate. "You think that'll fix it?" he asked, frowning. "Talking could help," Tyler answered, a bit more confidently now. "I mean, we gather here for fun, right? Why not solve this like friends?" The moment hung in the air. John watched their faces, an upturning of something that felt like possibility floating over the anger. If they could just stay open, this could turn around. Then, as if on cue, Jake kicked at the ground, visibly shaking off his stubbornness. "Okay, fine. What I said, it was dumb. I'm sorry." John felt a surge of relief. It wasn't much, but it was something. Sam rubbed the back of his head sheepishly, eyes now cast down on the grass. "Yeah, I shouldn't have said what I did either." Maddie and Tyler smiled, as if they could feel the ice melting. "You see?" John couldn't help saying, his heart swelling with pride for both his kids and for the boys, too. But just as he thought calm had settled, a shriek pierced through the laughter. Carly, the girl from the snack table, had tripped over her own feet and sent cupcakes flying across the lawn. A flurry of giggles erupted, cutting through the earlier tension. "Now that's a disaster." John chuckled, grateful for the distraction. Everyone turned their attention to the mishap, and in the midst of laughter, something shifted in the air. John saw an opportunity, a chance to reinforce the lesson of connection. "Let us help recap the cupcakes," he called out, grabbing a large platter and moving toward the mess. The boys exchanged glances, a wordless agreement passing between them as they joined him. As they cleaned up the battlefield of frosting and sprinkles, John couldn't help but think of how similar this was to life. In a world swirling with chaos, gatherings could become fragile, torn apart by conflict or disaster. Yet, amidst this, moments of connection were worth fighting for. With each cupcake cleared, the laughter turned fuller, the boys' earlier tensions dissolving into soft smiles. But underneath, John felt something else creeping in, a sense of worry about the lingering tension with Jake, the unspoken words still resting between them. After they finished cleaning, he turned to Jake, pulling the boy aside gently. "Hey, can we talk a minute? Not in front of everyone?" Jake hesitated but nodded, curiosity tinged with apprehension. John sensed this was a crucial moment not just for Jake, but for himself too. Sure, Jake's voice was quiet, almost uncertain. John felt the weight of the night wrap around him again. It was a delicate dance, navigating through the complexities of parenting and understanding. What did he need to say to make a real difference? Would this heart-to-heart finally bridge the gap? As the laughter continued in the background, John took a step forward. The real conversation was just beginning. John led Jake to a quieter corner of the yard, away from the bustling chatter and the lingering scent of cupcakes. The soft hum of laughter seemed to fade, replaced by a tense quiet that felt heavy in the air. He could see Jake's shoulders hunching slightly, a frown curling on his lips. "Listen, Jake," John started, trying to find the right words. "I know tonight got a little messy. It happens." He glanced at the other kids, still engrossed in their fun. He needed to break through the awkwardness. "What you said earlier, it mattered. It mattered to everyone. And I think it's important to understand why." Jake shifted his weight from one foot to the other. "Yeah, but I didn't mean it the way it came out. I just get mad sometimes." His voice had an angered edge, but underneath it, John could sense a sadness, a longing for acceptance that felt painfully familiar. "I get that," John responded, his tone calm and reassuring. "We all have moments when we speak without thinking. But it's how we respond that defines us." He let the words sink in, watching as the boy processed them. "Have you ever felt misunderstood?" Jake looked up, surprised by the question. "Yeah, I guess. But it's not like anyone cares. It's always just me." John felt a rush of empathy. He remembered his own childhood, the struggles to fit in, the friendships that felt complicated. "I think everyone cares more than you realize," he said gently. "Sometimes, opening up can be hard, but it's also where we find connection. In being honest." Jake's gaze dropped to the grass, avoiding eye contact. "What if they don't want to hear it? What if they think I'm going to ruin the fun?" The boy's fear was palpable, pulling at John's heartstrings. "You won't ruin the fun, Jake. You could actually make it better. It's not easy, but being brave enough to share your feelings can change everything. Look at what just happened with Sam and the others." Jake frowned, still skeptical. "But they can just laugh it off." "I can't, true," John acknowledged, "but you'd be surprised how often people want to support you if you just show them who you really are. It's okay to be vulnerable." He decided to share a little of his story, a glimpse into his own past. "When I was your age, I struggled too. I was afraid of what people would think. But I learned that opening up brought me closer to my friends." John saw a spark of curiosity in Jake's eyes, almost like a flicker of hope. He pressed on. "You have the chance to build those relationships too. Maybe start small. If something bothers you, talk about it. Just reach out." Jake hesitated, contemplating the weight of John's words. "You really think it could help?" "I know it can," John replied, a soft smile spreading across his face. "You've already taken the first step by talking with me tonight. Just think of it as more cupcakes to clean up. It might get messy, but in the end, you'll have a tidy yard and good friends." A small smile broke through Jake's reserved demeanor, the tension in him visibly easing. "Okay," he said, almost shyly, "I'll try." "Good," John said, grateful for the progress. As they turned back toward the group, he felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. But just then, a sudden ruckus erupted from the crowd. John's heart sank as he spotted something out of the corner of his eye, a scuffle of teens, laughter transforming back into chaos. "Wait here," John instructed Jake, his instincts kicking in. What would happen next? Could this night unravel again just as it had begun to mend? Would they face another conflict or find a way to encourage connection amidst the chaos? John moved quickly, weaving through the crowd of kids who were now gathering like moths to a flame, drawn in by the commotion. The sound of voices escalated, rising in pitch as the atmosphere turned electric and tense. He pushed ahead, his heart racing. What started as playful banter now felt dangerously charged. A knot in his stomach twisted tighter as he spotted a small circle of teenagers shouting at each other. One of them, Jordan, a usually easygoing kid, had his fists clenched at his sides, his face flushed with anger. "Hey, everyone. Let's calm down," John called out, waving his arms to get their attention. But the noise swirled around him, drowning out his words. It was a familiar scene, one he had witnessed before. Misunderstandings escalating until laughter turned to shouting and hurt feelings lingered in the air like an unwanted guest. As John reached the group, he could barely make out the words flowing from Jordan's mouth, his voice a mix of hurt and frustration. "You think you can just come in here and take over our game? Back off." "Yeah? Well, maybe we just have more fun than you," replied another teen. John recognized him, Blake, who often liked to stir the pot. John stepped into the circle, a calming presence amidst the chaos. "Okay, everyone just take a breath. Jordan, Blake, what's going on?" The two boys glared at each other, each waiting for the other to back down first. A few kids started murmuring, their excitement replaced by uncertainty. John could feel their eyes on him, waiting for guidance, validation, a way to navigate this moment. "Let's not let this ruin the night," he said firmly but gently, remembering his own lessons just moments ago with Jake. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. How can we fix this?" Jordan scoffed but deflated a little at John's words. He turned halfway, arms crossing defensively. Blake shifted his weight, looking less certain now that John was here. "You guys were hogging the ball," Blake said. "We just wanted to play too." Jordan's eyes narrowed, but John could see the tension in his jaw easing. "I thought you were trying to mess up our game on purpose." "See?" John jumped in quickly. "This is what I mean. Misunderstandings can turn into bigger problems. Instead of battling, why don't we all play together? There's enough fun for everyone." A murmur passed through the group. John noticed Jake was watching, his earlier smile replaced by concern. He wanted to keep this moment of connection alive, encourage Jake to step up and perhaps even address his own feelings about the situation. "Jake!" John called out, bringing the boy into the light. "Why don't you help us out here? You've got good ideas." Jake took a tentative step forward, looking around at the group. Maybe we could have teams." His voice cracked slightly with nerves, but it carried enough to draw attention. "Teams sound great. Let's play a game together," Jordan suggested, surprise in his voice. Encouragement bloomed in John's chest. As the boys made their instant adjustments, the tension dissipated like steam in the sun. Laughter floated back in, but this time it felt different, more connected. The game kicked off with renewed energy. John stood back, a smile spreading across his face, watching Jake spark up a conversation with another boy who'd been standing on the sidelines, looking unsure. But just as the festivities began, John saw a familiar shadow watching from the other side of the hedge. Ava, his neighbor and Jake's childhood friend, looked troubled. She seemed hesitant to join in, her arms crossed tightly as if guarding her heart. What was she feeling? Did she see the change? As he continued to watch her, he couldn't help but wonder, would she break through the wall she had built around herself, or would she remain a distant spectator in her own life? The night was only just beginning to reveal its true potential. John's gaze remained fixed on Ava, the way she stood there, almost invisible in the chaos of laughter and shouts. He wished he could reach her, to bridge that distance filled with tension and uncertainty. Her hesitance felt like a weight, pulling on his chest. "Hey, Ava," he called, hoping his voice would weave through the laughter. "Come join us." She glanced his way, eyes flickering with something curiosity, maybe, or perhaps doubt. The fun was all around her, but her arms stayed crossed, as if she were cocooned in a layer of armor she wouldn't let anyone penetrate. The game continued, kids running and shouting, but John knew that inviting Ava in could shift the atmosphere even more. "Jake!" he hollered again, glancing back at his friend, who still appeared anxious on the sidelines. "Let us go show Ava how much fun we're having." Jake hesitated, biting his lip, but finally moved forward, determination igniting in his eyes. "Ava," he said, his voice steadier this time. "You have to come play with us. You'll love it." Slowly, she unfolded her arms, but John noticed another hesitation in her eyes. It was as if she were weighing the choice between stepping out into the light or remaining in her comfortable shadows. "Come on, Ava," one of the boys shouted, waving her toward the group. "It's way more fun with you here." A smile broke across John's face, a bright beam of hope slicing through the uncertainty that had been hanging in the air. But he could see Ava's brows knot together like two tiny storms. Would she accept the invitation or refuse it once again? Just then, Jordan spotted her and jogged over. "You can be on my team. We could really use you. You're awesome with strategies." That seemed to catch Ava's attention. For the first time, her lips curled into a shy grin. She took a step forward, then another, as if she was testing the waters. "Okay, fine," she called out, the tune in her voice lightening. "Just promise you one take it easy on me." Cheers erupted as she crossed the threshold of the hedge, breaking free from her self-imposed barrier. The moment felt magical, like a flower finally blooming. John felt a rush of relief and excitement. Maybe this night would change things for Ava. Maybe stepping into the group like that would help unlock something within her. The game surged with energy as the kids split into teams and plans were shouted back and forth. Through the laughter and chaos, John caught Jake watching Ava. The look in his eyes held admiration for the girl who was finally joining in, who was finally breaking away from the shadows. "Hey, you're doing great, Ava." Jake cheered as they took their positions, giggles bouncing with the round of the ball that was being tossed. This moment of connection felt powerful, potentially transformative. John could see the glimmers of change not just in Ava, but in Jake too. They were beginning to step out of their shells, yet there were echoes of something unresolved lingering between them all. As Ava laughed and played, John sensed that this newfound joy could also be a prelude to deeper challenges ahead. Would this openness stand the test when real conflicts arose? Just as John hoped the energy would sustain, he felt a pulse of anxiety surge through him. Would it last? Or would they fall back into old habits that kept them apart? As he took a breath to steady himself, he spotted a child on the far side, sitting alone, watching the fun unfold with sad eyes, another reminder that not everyone felt included. Who was that boy? And what was he facing? John's heart began to race again, knowing that he had to step in once more, not only to help his friends but also to reach out to someone who maybe needed it most. What would happen next? John stood at the edge of the party, watching the joyful chaos unfold. Kids who once seemed distant now laughed and danced freely, acting as if the world outside didn't exist. However, the uneasy knot in his stomach tightened again as he noticed a boy sitting alone, his shoulders hunched, eyes cast down, missing out on all the fun. "Hey, buddy. Come join us." John called out, his heart thumping with urgency as he moved closer. The boy looked up, uncertainty masking his face. He was small, maybe 12 or 13, and the weight of shyness seemed to cloak him like a blanket. "Nah, I'm good," he said, a hint of defiance in his voice, but also a veiled desire. "Are you sure? We've got room for everyone. It's way more fun together." John encouraged, and to his surprise, the boy shifted slightly but stayed put. Maddie caught John's eye from across the field, her laughter ringing in the air. She tossed her head back as she danced with her friends, but then her gaze turned toward the boy. Something clicked as she approached, curiosity flickering in her eyes. "Hey. What is your name?" Maddie asked, drawing closer. "Lucas," he mumbled, lifting his chin slightly to meet her gaze. "I saw you over here," Maddie offered softly. "Come play with us. We're just doing silly games. Honestly, it's a blast." John watched as Maddie's warmth enveloped Lucas, her kindness breaking through the barriers of his uncertainty. Encouraged by Maddie's genuine spirit, John stepped in too, leaning down to Lucas's level. "Trust me, it's a night to remember," he said warmly. Lucas hesitated, looking from John to Maddie, and a hint of a smile tugged at his lips. "Okay," he said finally, pushed by their invitation. As Lucas joined the circle, a sense of triumph filled John. They all began a new game together, laughter bubbling to the surface, where moments of sadness could no longer drown them out. This was what connection looked like. Suddenly, John felt a familiar tugging inside, a reminder of how far they had all come. He glanced at Tyler, who now called out to Lucas, pulling him into an effortless game of tag. John noticed the way his son smiled, radiating a warmth he hadn't seen so evidently before. As everyone played, Jake joined in, his earlier anxieties forgotten as he found common ground with Lucas. The invisible walls began to crumble around them, replaced instead by laughter and shared experiences. John could feel the bond between them all strengthen as they navigated this joyful chaos together, but just when John thought everything was falling perfectly into place, he glanced at Maddie. An unexpected look sprinkled with concern crossed her features, directing him toward Ava, who had pulled back from her initial burst of energy. Ava stood at the edge of the group, the life of the party dimming around her. John watched as her smile faltered, her gaze flitting from the fun to the ground, as if caught between wanting to join and feeling left behind. "Let's check on her," John suggested, nudging Maddie. "You had such a great idea inviting Lucas. You can help again." Maddie nodded resolutely, taking a deep breath as they walked toward Ava together. "Hey, Ava. Everything okay?" Ava looked up, her eyes shining with unshed emotion. I didn't want to bother anyone." The weight of her words settled heavily in the air between them. "Not at all. We want you to come play too." Maddie reached out, placing a steady hand on Ava's arm. "It'll be even better with you there." John watched as Ava hesitated once more. He understood that balance between wanting to join in and fearing rejection. He could see the longing in her eyes, a desire to connect battling against her fears of inadequacy. "Maybe we can all play a simple game together?" John offered, his heart full of encouragement. "What do you say?" Ava searched their faces, and as her smile returned, John felt a spark ignite. "Okay," she said, slowly moving toward the group, her hesitance dissipating with each step. With renewed energy, they dove into another round of games, whoops of joy echoing into the night. John felt a wave of relief sweep over him as he saw Ava fully enveloped into the fun. As the stars glittered above, John stepped back to catch his breath. Each child, lost in their joy, was a thread in the tapestry they were weaving together, an understanding that transcended words. Later, as the festivities began to wind down, John gathered Maddie and Tyler under the glow of the moon. "I'm proud of both of you. We've all learned so much tonight." Maddie grinned, glancing toward Ava and Lucas, who now stood side by side, deep in a playful banter. "This feels like it's just the beginning, Dad. We make a great team." Tyler added, a sparkle in his eye. John's heart was full. They were becoming a family again. And they would face whatever came next together. "Remember," John said, voice firm yet gentle, "let's make a commitment. We're not just here to be a part of each other's lives, we're here to support one another, through fun and difficult times. Right?" "Right." They echoed back. As the stars twinkled overhead, John felt a warmth spreading through him, hope, connection, a renewed bond that he believed could withstand any test of time. The night had transformed into something beautiful, something real. And he knew, deep inside, this was a family worth fighting for. Now, here's the moment of truth. you need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm, your support matters. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your actions can inspire them. Remember, they'll only understand the importance of it if true fans like you show their support.